and I think it would be good to have what we try to do is sort of come out with like a glossary that would have different different terminologies in English, and then Burmese is easy translation, Burmese more difficult translation. Shalom has done something like this before, but I think there could be an effort to revise this as a working on interfaith dialogue, and we talked to Angelica from Mo about this as well, since Mo was one of the driving work we could think about doing actually, like so going back to the model, so the curriculum was being taught to those peace building champions by local trainers including from Shalom, who were included in the curriculum design as well. So there was really a lot of back and forth and review process from the trainers, from those champions that we mentioned, and then actually from the communities themselves as well. Because the curriculum was trained to those champions, they went to the communities and they trained the teachers and they trained the community leaders separately, and then the teachers were training students from middle schools, with the support, if needed, from those peace building champions trainers. So they were acting as mentors in a way.
How many peace champions?
We had, we started with 20, and then we 15. Like 15 of those who finished the full program.
Stayed.
Yes, because it was divided into parts. So, but after being trained, the communities and the teachers, they had resources to organize their own small grants, small activities, follow-up trainings. It would depend on what they wanted to.
That was in
No, that was in Cayenne, but this was the model that sort of has been used in Cayenne, Rakhine, and Mon before, and now we have tried to, let's say, make it more.
That, and as well from your experience in Rakhine, reflecting, so you were involved in this kind of process of train and then they train and then the small grants. In reflecting on that, in what parts have you felt that it works well? Like what is good in this method, in this process?
This project?
And in this approach. So think of it more as like methods and approaches. Did it work well, in your opinion? What was successful in it?
Yes.
Be honest.
In the sense of, or what was it about this process or this project that was good?
Yes. Providing grant. We used to we provided grant in our last project. Sometimes those working group, those our working group, they are not all are very well trained to manage those grants financially. Although it's their past experience and it will help their next step. Important. So, we can very easily the difference between the first grant. The way they manage the first grant and the way they manage the second grant.
They got a second grant, the same people.
Community.
The same.
So, the second grant they can manage by themselves. Maybe what is very not smart, but they start to manage by themselves for their development.
But they also see that they have space to use the skills that that they learn during the training part, right?
And then, as my understanding, it is like a code community empowerment. It's a code methodology for community empowerment. Because maybe it is, for example, one village they have no library in one village. It is better to give them money and to let them to build by themselves instead of going there by ourselves and building up by ourselves. So, and then, as my understanding, it is the best way is to let them to provide them some result and to let them build by themselves.
Incentive.
Yeah, instead of ourselves.
So you saw, why do you think that is approach? And you let them build simply because the community gets to make their own decisions about, well, about what they.
Yeah.
Was there any sensitivities involved in? There's the idea that when you bring resources to a resource scarce context, money or human resources, that can cause also dynamics around conflict. Did you see any tensions or dynamics that arose from giving small grants? Yeah.
Yeah, there are some, but I mean not so much dangerous.
But I think the key part was that it wasn't just providing resources without giving the skills, right? First, they was to be provided with the skills on, you know, let's say mediation in this sense, and that's what we heard during FGDs, for example, both with the community leaders as well as with the teachers. That before, for example. Community members would come to the village leader all the time, trying to. I'm talking even at the level of individual conflict that wouldn't necessarily have to be linked to ethnicity or religion. It's just like that. Before, community members would come to the village leader all the time to search for his mediation, or students would come to the teacher. And now they are trying to solve things by finding win-win solutions. So you, of course, you cannot just provide throw resources at community and expect them to to identify the needs and stuff. You really need to first of all provide them with those skills, but then also what I think has been very important is this mentoring and monitoring. So you also need to make sure that every step of the way, which is not always ideal, like you cannot always get it 100% right, but at least if you're mentoring and you have a clear channel of communication with the communities, which I think what Arcar and our other staff has been really trying to do, like make sure that they are not left on their own to follow up those projects, but to do it together. And
actually, we're providing them some small training, like how to manage a small project, how to manage financially, and like in small projects like a management, we're providing training to them, and then we get the result, what money, and then we just monitor.
How was your experience? It's been mentioned a few times, the dynamic, and which I'm sure you're both also aware of, the dynamic of you, and also you were in the Rakhine Field Office, right? As a Myanmar working with stakeholders, that you have a Yangon headquarters that you report to, and then donor. You as the implementer of this, you were talking about Facebook already, there's a personal involvement that you get. What are some of your reflections on actually when you try to do this work practically? The challenges involved for you as a person working with this project behind you, but being at that front line. Do you know what I'm trying to ask? So, for you as an individual working in this, have you faced any challenges in implementing this work? Any kind of tensions or dynamics of the fact that you have a project to implement, but then you have a community that you're working with who might have different ideas?
A lot.
What can we learn from that, no, in terms of practically what it means to implement? Because you can have a great project, but it's you who are doing it there on the ground.
But with the partners as well, I think
Yes.
we've really tried to make sure that as often as possible there's local partners that
Sister. No. I'm not going very detail because if I go very detail, it will take so much time. So, some of the common challenges are like the key stakeholder, the local stakeholder. Another one is during implementation. One of the problem is sometimes our program, our guideline and rule, agree with the donor. Sometimes it's not very fair. with the local contact, I mean local need, something like that. So I think it's one of the huge challenges now.
We were, yeah, because I think this is the often at the end of the day it's not us. It's, let's say, now I'm drawing distinction between national staff, which I don't like to do, but often, we have something. Let's say certain expectations from the donor side, which are in English, but then the bulk of the work with translating it to the local, yeah, not only to the local language, but in a way which is culturally sensitive and conflict sensitive, lies on national staff to really navigate a very difficult landscape of trying to find a way, like find a balance between those two.
Sure.
I know how difficult it is for us as international, so I can only imagine how extremely difficult it is
Yeah.
for national staff.
One more problem is that sometimes you, LS also, as a international staff, some maybe don't also, sometimes maybe they used to think like a, for example, maybe LS in Poland, maybe from Europe, they used to think like a Polish, maybe they used to think like a,
But they're not. No, he means Polish. As
Oh,
a, like for as a Polish person.
and but in our situation, one of the problems is they do not think like that.
Which comes to back to the education system.
Yeah, and because of the education system and the society and the religious system. So the way they believe is quite different what we think, especially with the international staff.
Right.
So sometimes when we are asking about maybe some achievement on paper or maybe on proof, so it's very hard. And sometimes it's hard to measure and hard to show like approve. So it's also a huge thing. I mean, for me personally,
Yeah.
because sometimes because I'm third between international staff and the
Yeah.
local, I mean, graduate level. Because I also understand them, and I also understand to the village, I mean, the community member.
Yeah.
They also they vote right. So I don't know why I have to do like this.
But one thing that, because I need to run, but maybe Arthur can stay with you a few minutes longer, although I wanted to just add maybe as an example sort of how difficult the space is to work on now. Communities. For example, we were in our current programming, we were working with different communities, but at some point we weren't working with communities that would be only Muslim, let's say. We are always, there were reasons for this, like such as geographical targeting as well, or the moment when we were choosing the target areas, which was just after August, and it was a very difficult period to work on. Just to give you an example, like when we were working in communities that would be majority Buddhist, or generally didn't feel at some point when we managed to build a stronger relationship with the local authorities, which we had to do by showing our different programming. They weren't initially very, let's say, favorable, like they were frowning upon our social cohesion programming. The local authorities.
Oh, the local authorities.
So we had to find ways, for example, for our social cohesion programming, we incorporated parts of child protection, to appease them, which worked, fortunately.
Right.
But when we wanted to do some trainings just for Muslim community in Pa'an, and they were really afraid because of the number of, and this was in Pa'an town, which normally, for doing trainings in bigger metropolis, you wouldn't need special permissions as you would for working at the really grassroots level in the villages. He was so afraid of organizing something. In the end, it all worked well. but they were saying that they need to go to the GAD to apply for permission, and they were genuinely scared of them being in charge of doing, or not even being in charge, being the of something being organized in their community because of their previous experience.
When you say they, sorry, the local partner or the Muslim
No,
community?
the Muslim community.
The Muslim community
Yes,
were
the
afraid.
Muslim community. Yes, they were afraid
Right.
because of the, let's say, bureaucratic burden, but not only because of the way. So there's a very tangible um, limitations for
Sensitivity.
yes, and even in the areas where normally it would be much easier to work. And for one of the major issues now with, and this is something that is mentioned a lot in other more humanitarian sectors, but I think language will become more and more of an issue because we have children that are, that basically they never had access to already their the levels of were very low before, but now you have the whole generation that is growing up without access to education system, and basically they have no, they don't speak Rakhine and they don't speak Myanmar.
Yeah.
And how can you expect them to? How can you expect to have a cohesive
Right.
communities if you're not even able to? And also, which another issue is Rohingya being I mean the verbal language. But I think this will become more and more of an issue, of course, over time. But we are already seeing how it's a challenge because of the lack of access.
Sorry.
5-minute wrap up.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need to go, we can just chat for a few more minutes. Is that fine? And
Okay.
Yes.
And then, just because I just wanted you to finish
I
what you
think
were
you will
talking
be
about.
much more substantial.
Really good to see you and good luck this week and see you again soon, no?
Yes.
Okay.
How long are you in Lashu?
Lasha and Tangier should be back by Monday, Tuesday next week.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Okay, because we actually, another thing that I wanted to mention, which I think probably we'll talk a lot with about, is using other creative ways of, such as art,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
work on interfaith dialogue. So in this realm, we have the exhibition of the diversity event that we did, but unfortunately Friday and Saturday.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
But I'll speak to you after and hear
Yeah.
how it went. Happy to hear about it. Good luck with all this week. Bye. I know you're incredibly busy, so I don't want to keep you much more. I was just I don't know, a chance to reflect on any other challenges that you think would be important or useful to feed into a research or an analysis like this of what it means to do interfaith programming and or challenges that you face, and how you think some of those challenges can be overcome. Like, what should international organizations do or not do? This less sensitive.
Yeah. I think I like the work. Like, think internationally and at locally. Now, some of the organization they need to think locally and then to think internationally, both to think locally and to think internationally. For example, me as a local, the problem is the way we think is different the way they think and the way they believe. So now they need to think more locally and locally. Yeah, we also used to organize some interfaith dialogues in Rakhine. One of my observations is during dialogue session, we cannot debate with dialogue session, but we can put question or maybe we can get awareness during dialogue session to the participant. But one of the biggest problem is during the time of session, the participant they have a good awareness and I mean question to themselves, question to their belief.
Right.
But when they arrive into a can by their society.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so this and then awareness is because of the shame and one step to shame.
Shame.
Yeah.
Change or
Shame.
change? Like change, not shame. Change.
So one of the biggest problem is we can achieve first step and then it still have to achieve the second step. So the biggest problem is the society. I mean society mean majority of the people they influence the minority. I mean minority. For example, 80% of Rakhine they try and influence to 20% of Rakhine. I mean 20% of Rakhine they have good awareness and they questioning to themselves. But they don't even they got awareness or they are questioning to themselves. They cannot practice because of the rest of the society. So and there is also huge problem. I mean to change the society or maybe to change the community.
So that step from individual level to actually community or broader social change.
Yes. Because if someone even he want to do something, I mean he want to change or he want to do something practice,
Yeah.
he or she is not allowed to do like this by their society. So it's also a huge problem. So I think we also need to think about the other step. I mean, because if we want them to change their attitude and behavior,
Yeah.
they need a space to do like this, to change and to practice. Firstly, they need awareness and then they need a space to change and practice. One of the problems is that we are not providing lots of capacity within training and awareness session and education, but they don't have enough space to practice. So, change. Yeah. This is just my observation. So, maybe we should also think about maybe we should also try to create some space for some people who want to change or maybe who want to practice.
Do you see how could that space be created? Like, are there entry points that could broaden, or what would that space look like?
Maybe grant, I mean the way we used to provide grant.
Grant, right?
Yeah, and then
Right.
as my understanding, it can create. I mean, not so much, maybe a little space
Yeah.
for them
Yeah.
to do as they want.
Right.
I mean, because we are providing for some peace building or social cohesion activity.
Yeah.
So and then I mean, it will also be an entry point.
Right.
Another one is maybe education and social. I mean, economic sector. Because sometimes I think like most of the people, I mean, for example, in Rakhine, they are with a low outcome, I mean, poor outcome, I mean, so poor income. So, economic for them is a huge incentive for them. So, it would be really good if we can bind, we can mix maybe social cohesion or maybe peace building with economic and maybe like a market where we can buy, I mean, where all of them can buy and maybe can sell together or maybe something like that. I mean, just a rough idea, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, one, because it is a huge incentive for them.
So kind of looking at actually the lived reality, the context, and how not to just silo, like isolate peace education or social education, but how to use the reality to mainstream, how to say more, the social cohesion, use the challenges in everyday life to kind of also promote some interaction. Like, if economics is a big issue, so work with the economic issue and build in cohesion, or but not direct approach.
Indirect,
Yeah.
indirect.
Yeah.
Sometimes, as my understanding, social cohesion and peace building is not totally the same. I mean, as my understanding, social cohesion is also maybe harmony between youth and adult people and harmony between woman and man.
Yeah.
Is also, as my understanding, maybe wrong. it's also social cohesion. And yeah.
Mm. I just have a question you mentioned earlier on the religious leaders, the challenges with working religious leaders. So our interviews also involve speaking with, it's really interesting to listen to. So I'm working with two Myanmar colleagues who are right now in Machina and Mintila, and I travel to Lasha tomorrow. But they've been doing a lot of interviews with different religious leaders. And a lot of these programmings try to work with building the capacity of religious leaders or working with religious leaders because the assumption is that they have influence on the community. But you mentioned the challenges of working with them. So to what extent, from your experience, do you think it's effective to work with religious leaders? Like,
So in Myanmar, the religious leader, I don't know how can I say that, a special rule and right and rule.
yes.
So sometimes it's really hard to approach them, to do something what we want. And it can also happen. It is also sometimes it is also dangerous.
Right.
I mean, if they are, too sensitive, like Mabata. So if we are going to a religious leader, Buddhist religious leader, who is a Mabata, so and then boom. Some religious leader, they also, and then maybe to some Nama to change.
Yeah.
So it is also a huge problem. I mean, they also hating each other. Instead of loving each other, instead of so sometimes they also themselves spreading hate speech and rumor.
Yeah.
Instead of stopping and preventing it. So sometimes it's hard to know. Have to define who can be our potential, maybe like a partner.
Yeah.
It's hard to define, distinguish.
Yeah. Identify those who can
Yeah, to
make change. Yeah. It's not easy.
not easy, yeah.
Yeah.
But if we can do it like locally, locally is it's a little hard to explain. If you can, for example, if someone can then locally and he or she know the local content very well, he can do it.
Right. Or you mean, or the implementer?
The implementer.
The implementer.
For example, me, if I know about maybe Christian state,
yeah.
and local content and very well, and then I can manage.
Yeah. Yeah. So let the programming more be driven by the local knowledge. Yeah, I think it's a big issue that will come up about or the way that they work.
One of the key problem is like chain. We are talking about the data, how many data, how many people, how many person. What kind of your theory or maybe what kind of something like this.
Yeah.
So sometimes it does not work very much in the some local content.
Yeah.
Maybe as personally, as in the networking session,
yeah.
I think it is much better to train about the peace or chain theory or maybe complete sensitivity or rather than cooking a lunch and eating a lunch together. As for me, eating a lunch is together and it is more locally and it's more appropriate for them and it's not dangerous. It can promote more relationship. It can become more friendly between them. It can reduce hate speech because sometimes if we are talking about the theory and training to the community, maybe they can understand maybe conflict by their brain, not by because of sometimes the international organization and donor they want data and the data come from the brain. So sometimes it is also hard to measure how they understand. How they understand the peace by their heart. So it is hard to assess, hard to measure.
Yeah.
So maybe what we should take in the future.
The approach should change. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. If
Yeah.
you, so my two counterparts, my colleagues in this research, they're also back. If you like, if there's more, so one is Zarchi. She was recently on the DVB debate. You might recognize her if you watch DVB. She was speaking with Mamata about anti-hate speech, actually. So now we're having issue because she's in Metila and people are recognizing her. So I'm just calling her, Zarchi, are you okay? And Tanlayu, who's in Machina, he used to work with KMSS, and so. But if there's more you want to say, and if you want to more have informal discussion with them, I know sometimes in English is difficult, then happy to have a follow-up conversation, because I think you have a lot of experience and a lot of things to share that are useful and honest, which is important. Is there any question you have, or about this research, or what's going to happen, or?
No special question.
Yeah. So we'll take everything and reflect it back in an anonymous way.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll hear from us, and if there's more you want to add, feel free to get in touch.
No.
Okay.
I mean, no more. I mean, because of I have a.
You
I
need
have
to do
lot
a
of
million
urgent
things.
and important tasks.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay, nice to meet you, Arkan.
Yeah, you too.
See you again.
Yeah.
I will. I'll just pack up and leave.
Okay.
Thank you. No. See you. Good luck.
And Metla, my native township is close. I mean, next to the Metla.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So near.
Yes,
Wow.
so near.
You should meet Zarchi. I think you'd have a lot to talk about.
Okay.
Okay. Take care.
Yeah.